Joyful greetings to you all. Dear brothers and sisters, I'm so happy and delighted to reflect along with you about holiness and sin. What is holiness? Holiness is to remain in the love of God, to do the will of God. To put in a fancy way, to do the will of God, one must remain in the love of God, which would lead him to be holy and to cherish holiness. We all truly believe that God is love. And God sent his only Son, Jesus, as the divine love to the human world through the Holy Spirit. And we also truly believe that we are created in the image and likeness of God. If so, how can we not respond and reveal that pure and honest love back to God and to everyone in the world? The other beautiful expression of holiness is it's a pure form of expression of love for God and for God's people. When we truly reveal our love, unconditional love, pure love without any ifs and buts and becauses, when we truly reveal our love, share our humanity with one another, then we remain in holiness. And that holiness would definitely save the world. So, in remaining in love, one must be aware of two important natures of love. The first nature of love is the ascending love. The second one is the descending love. In ascending love, I grow closer to God and I remain in the realm of grace and blessings. And I increase my spirituality, I increase my communion with God through my all pious practices. And I grow closer to Him to know Him, to love Him, to serve Him, and as a result, to gain His heavenly bliss once I reach after this earthly life. And in descending love, I grow closer to every human persons around. And I value them as I value myself, or I love them as I love myself. In descending love, without any place for discriminations or indifferences, I value everyone as beloved child of God, as I value myself as a precious child of God. So when I truly comprehend and understand the importance of the ascending love, my communion with God, and the descending love, my communion with every human person in the world, then I remain in holiness and I become holy, and that holiness would definitely save every soul in the world. Now let us move on to the second topic, sin. What is sin? Sin is an alienation of oneself from God. It's a purposeful, willful, a deliberate alienation or separation of oneself from God. When do I get alienated or separated? When I make myself as the center of my life and existence, I alienate myself from God. See, let us see the letters of the word sin. S-I-N. When I becomes the center of my life, and that is called sin. It is the same with pride, P-R-I-D-E. When I is the center of myself, my life, my wants and desires, then I become proud. So I is the center. When I become proud, when I am egoistic, when I am self-centered or self-righteous, when I become selfish, that's when I choose the track or path of sin. So, as sin makes someone separated or alienated from God, that results oneself doing something wrong against the will of God. So sin is acting purposefully against the law or the love of God. It's not just ignorant act of doing something against God's will. Rather, it's a deliberate, purposeful, intentional act of doing something against the law of God and the love of God. What is the law of God or love of God? To remain with Him, to cherish His love, and to remain with everyone to share His love. But when we willfully or purposely act against God's love, we become we become sinners. So sin is a separation from God or alienation from God. And that alienation makes us commit something wrong and to fall into a pit of falsity. And what happens when we enter into that fallenness? That creates in us a guilt conscience. We become guilty of something. And that guilt leads us to feel shameful. And that shame makes us blame someone else or something around. And that blaming leads to destroy oneself and others. See the formula of sin. Sin is the alienation from God, alienation. That alienation makes someone do something wrong or commit something against God's love. And that fallenness makes someone feel guilty of one's own self. And that guilt leads oneself to feel shameful about that. Shame comes in the fourth place. And then shame makes them to blame the other person for what they have done. And that blame game makes them to destroy others and destroy themselves. Self-destruction and destruction of the other people. This is the same blame game that took place with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. When they committed their first sin of disobedience, and when God asked them why did they do, Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent. And that was the blame game finally, which led them to self-destruction of separating themselves from the realm of blessings and grace. So what are we to do to escape this sin of self-centeredness or separation from God? I just have three important reflections or three important tools. Number one, let's realize who we are. If I realize that I am created in the image and likeness of God, if I am a precious child of God, if I understand that I am so tenderly and carefully made by the powerful providential hands of God, then I would not lead myself trapped by the clutches of Satan. The second thing, I need to always remain in God consciousness that I am a child of God. Then I have the presence of God inside of me, and I should cherish myself with that presence, and I should share that God experience with everyone. If I have that God consciousness, that would definitely protect me and safeguard me from all those endangering temptations and weaknesses. Third thing, when I have my strong hope of attaining heaven, when I, end up my earthly life, when I'm so strongly, convinced of my heavenly destiny, I would not be easily influenced by anything of this world. So therefore, dear brothers and sisters, let us increase our thirst for holiness, remaining in the love of God in order for us to do the will of God. And let us be aware of these trapping clutches of Satan through sin. Because it was pride and selfishness that made angels become Satan. But it was the virtue of humility and humbleness that made simple human persons become saints. Because every saint had a past, and every sinner has a future. We all of us have our own future in God. God bless you. Have a joyful day.